Hi, I'm Nathan Thornberry with Residential Warranty Services and the Inspector Services Group, and I want to talk today about inspection prices and variations in what a home inspector does. We get this question all the time on one of our sites, homeinspectionforum.net. It's where home buyers, agents, home inspectors alike can go online, talk about home inspection issues. And one of the questions that gets asked is, what's the difference between a $200 inspection and a $500 inspection? And truth be told, the average home inspection in the US is somewhere between $300 and $500. That's for your entry-level home. I'm talking about something under 2,000 square feet in most cases. And that doesn't include additional services like mold testing, radon testing, termite inspections, that sort of thing. So add all that in, but your baseline cost should generally be between the $300 and $500 range, which varies greatly by area. So in Brooklyn, New York, you're generally going to spend more than you do in Lenexa, Kansas. So keep that in mind. But there are always inspectors in certain areas that will charge anywhere from that $199 rate to somewhere under $250, let's say. And from their competitor standpoint, they get a bad rap. They go, oh, those are the cheap guys. And they never really say anything other than, well, we do a really good job, so we're worth more. Well, let's look at that from a practical perspective and understand what a cheap inspection and sometimes even an overpriced or regular priced inspection can miss for you as a home buyer. And here are some questions that you need to ask. Let's go with the first one. What if I move into my house and I have a problem with a refrigerator? It has a capacitor go out, it has an electrical problem inside, and I just had it inspected, it was working fine. What do I do at that point? Well, if you used a certain home inspector that has a 90-day warranty that they offer with their inspections, there might be some coverage for that refrigerator. In addition to that, and this is something you talk to your real estate agent about, you might get a home warranty like the Simple or Advantage plan from Residential Warranty Services. And one thing that's unique about these is if you use a home inspector that offers a qualifying warranty with their inspection service, there are no pre-existing conditions on these policies. They go by what the inspection says only. So if you make a claim on that refrigerator and this capacitor went out, that should be a covered issue under the warranty. It would be a covered issue under an inspector's warranty if they have our 90-day plus coverage, and you'll find somebody who offers that in every major market in the US. If you talk to an inspector who offers the $200 inspection, they simply cannot afford to give you that level of value. They can't afford to give you any assurances. They are there to write an inspection based on what is likely something along the lines of the minimum requirements of an inspection, give you that on a piece of paper, and the day after you get the inspection, there's no obligation to them, no liability to them, and absolutely no protection for you. Now, if that capacitor was due to a recall on the refrigerator, this is another question that you could ask your inspector, and you would be a more educated buyer or agent for it. If it has been recalled due to a fire or safety issue, will you catch it as a part of your inspection? Now, around 5,000 home inspectors in this country, in the US and Canada actually, out of the 25 to 30,000 out there, check for recalls as a part of their inspection. They actually take pictures of the model plates, they go into a database, they get checked, and if there were a capacitor that had been recalled due to a fire safety issue, that would be a free repair. Now, this requires an extra 5 minutes of time on site, and it is something that an inspector has to have the means to do, or the ability to do, or be qualified to do. So if your inspector isn't checking for recalls actively, which in home inspection there's one way to do that, it's a product called Recall Check, then that repair would be offered to you for free by the manufacturer. And if the manufacturer fails to make the repair, or maybe the manufacturer's out of business or gone bankrupt, that sort of thing, Recall Check will actually pay for the repair. Now, here's why that's important. The repair itself might be covered by the home warranty. Technically, the warranties generally exclude things that are recalled, but they wouldn't necessarily know. They wouldn't necessarily check for whether that capacitor was under the recall. but they wouldn't cover what you lost in the refrigerator. The capacitor replacement's only $150, but if you just did a Costco trip and you have a couple $100 worth of groceries, you're going to lose all of that. Nobody's going to cover that for you. That's something that could be prevented with the right home inspection and with you being armed with the right questions to ask. So do you check for recalls? And what happens if something breaks right after the inspection along the lines of a refrigerator or a pipe leak, or maybe your air conditioner goes out? All of those things are covered under inspection warranties. And if someone doesn't have an inspection warranty, I don't care if it's a $200 inspection or an overpriced $500 inspection with none of these protections. You're still on your own, and that's not as good of a value. Let's talk about something else that could happen, and this is a big one. This is a huge one. If you have an underground sewer line between the home and the street, which if you're buying a modern home, you have that. You might have an underground line that goes from your house to your septic system. That line, in the course of a home inspection, the most expensive pipe in your home or outside your home, on your property, we'll say, that is not inspected as a part of the inspection generally. That would be something that would be an additional fee, and you could certainly have that done with a sewer camera inspection. But for most people, they just have the inspection done and the water gets ran, and if the water runs down the sewer line, then everything's assumed to be fine. So here's a question to ask your home inspector. If I move in and the sewer line collapses, if it plugs up because of tree roots, if we find soil, dirt in the sewer line because there's a break in the line, what coverage is afforded to me? What are you obligated to? And for most inspectors, around 25,000 of them out of the 30,000, the answer is you are on your own, and that repair can cost you thousands of dollars. It's one of the most expensive failures that can occur for you as a homeowner. Let's go to something else. Roof leaks. So when an inspector goes into your attic, they're going to look for signs of water penetration. Maybe that comes in the form of staining on the bottom of the roof decking. Maybe it comes in the form of staining or damage to drywall on the ceilings of the highest level of the home. So if it's a ranch home, first floor. If it's a two-story home, be on the second floor. If there's no evidence the day of the inspection, if the seller painted over the damage, or maybe there was a repair that was done that is holding for now, it's not leaking, so the inspector can't say it's leaking, or maybe the roof was covered with snow, or maybe it just hadn't happened in a while, or we hadn't had the right weather yet since the last time the roof was put on. Here's a question to ask your inspector. If you move in and 90 days from the inspection, a year from the inspection, 3 years from the inspection, or even 5 years from the inspection date, if you experience a roof leak, what can you expect as a home buyer who paid for a service for them to do, right? Because they were there, they inspected it. It makes logical sense that they would be responsible for the home's condition. The answer from most inspectors will be that they cannot predict future roof leaks, and that's absolutely true. That's why you look for an inspector that offers the Platinum 5-year roof leak protection plan. It's backed by Residential Warranty Services, my company. We're a nationally licensed home warranty company, and we offer this on tens of thousands of homes every single month. So if you're using another inspector that's either too cheap to afford you any of these coverages because they're offering that $200 inspection, or you're using an overpriced inspection that simply offers no protection, no additional value, they just do the inspection, you're going to be without those coverages, and afterwards it just turns into an argument. And these arguments are real. They turn into claims, they turn into lawsuits, they turn into all sorts of bad press for that inspection company. It's really not a good thing, but you as a home buyer have a right to be protected, an expectation to be protected, and an expectation that if someone says your home is okay today, that it's going to be okay tomorrow and the next day, or for the next month or 3 months. And that's not unreasonable. If you call an inspector though and you ask them, what happens if something breaks right after you're there? Around 80% of them will say, don't call me, not my problem. I wrote you a piece of paper that said what the conditions were today. It expires the day after I'm there. It expires a minute after I leave the house, which leads me to the last thing. So Let's say you're dealing with an inspector who offers zero warranty coverage, doesn't offer any sewer line protection like Sewer Guard, doesn't offer any protection for visible mold like Mold Safe, doesn't have a 5-year roof leak protection plan to protect you as a home buyer. Let's say they offer none of that, but you just really like their price. You don't want to spend the extra $100 today. Totally get it. At least you should know that if they miss something legitimately, because now it's a matter of, okay, you're going to take responsibility for what happens in the future, perfectly fine. But if an inspector misses something today, what is your recourse? So one other question to ask an inspector: are they insured? And you want to make sure that they have two types of insurance. One, errors and omissions insurance. So if they make a mistake, if the report comes to you and for whatever reason, a material fact, a picture they took of a defect didn't make it into the report due to a mistake of the inspectors. Or two, general liability insurance. We, have an inspector go in and they damage something. They cause damage to a property that you don't own yet, but you hired the inspector to go in and do some work, do the inspection. That would come back on you as a buyer. So make sure that they offer E&O insurance, general liability insurance, and that they cover you with a recall report from Recall Check, a 90-day warranty, sewer line protection with Sewer Guard, mold protection, so visible mold covered under Mold Safe, and a 5-year roof leak protection plan. And that way, you're covered as a buyer. And I'm not sure that anyone knowing about these $15,000 worth of coverages available would choose an inspector that is $100 less or even $300 less. If they understood what could happen shortly after move-in. If you have any questions about the home inspection process, go online to homeinspectionforum.net. And in fact, I'm going to give you another website, inspectionguide.net. You can get details on all these plans. You can find an inspector who offers them, and then you can price shop amongst comparable service offerings. So there you go. If there's anyone who has a question about an inspector or an inspection you had where you weren't offered these coverages and now you're having an issue, if you're watching this too late because you got an inspection that wasn't good enough, send me an email, nathan@nathan.tv. I'll help guide you through the process of figuring out what that inspector would be responsible for and making sure you get what you deserve.